Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
Boom. Well, we are light a rocket today, but that does not mean we don't have the guns ablazing, ready to fire, especially when Jake hit the music. Breaking news. The bakers up north were in the kitchen and they have baked up a 15-year Vlad cake deal. 15 years? 14 years. 15 years for Vlad cakes. 14 years, $500 million.
Yep.
$500 million. And Jayhay, none of this money is deferred. This is a come as you are, pre-packaged. Here you go, fully baked into it. There's no question marks. There's nothing that you're worried about here if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan other than what this looks like at the very end of the deal and how many rings you are able to celebrate. How many banners are hanging in the Rogers Center. I think that's where your mind goes from here. But first and foremost, the fact that the Blue Jays finally have their man. After swinging and missing and swinging and missing, the Ohtani flight that never was, You now have a guy that you can build around for the foreseeable future. You have a homegrown Canadian planted firmly in the middle of your lineup for the next decade and a half almost. That has got to feel good if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan. Jayhay, tell Toronto Blue Jays fans why they should be excited about this. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much of a split mind on this. I'll get to my concerns later on. I think the initial reaction, if you're a Blue Jays fan, is obviously relief. You have the most important player currently in the franchise, and a guy who, now that he's under contract, I think will end up having a compelling argument as the most important or greatest player in Toronto Blue Jays franchise history when it's all said and done, under contract for 14 years. So there had been a lot of drama, a lot of self-imposed deadlines. We commented on Mark Shapiro's comments about his level of confidence that this was going to get done about 2 weeks ago. And lo and behold, that confidence was well placed because, Nightingale was all over it yesterday, saying that this was only a matter of time. And now it's the third largest guarantee in Major League Baseball history, behind only Soto's and Ohtani's.
And didn't it feel like, I mean, there was almost like a little bit of both sides playing coy, like, I don't know. I'm not sure where we're at. Like, don't ask me. I don't know. And I think when you have both sides starting to do that, that can kind of lend itself to projecting or anticipating this sort of news that Bob Nightingale dropped on the Free World yesterday, was when Vlad locked up that 14-year deal. I think initially the excitement is, for the most part, based on, I mean, and you can rewind before the swing and misses occurred in free agency multiple years in a row. I think there was still the thought of, hey, we know what we have here, or we're excited about what we have here right now. We need to think about what we're doing for the future. Can we make a move that shows us you're thinking the same thing too? That's the fans' thought to the front office. So now that they finally land their guy, and to your point, we can get into now, I think, what the future sort of projects for a Vlad Guerrero Jr. What does this contract look like at the end of it? And what can we realistically expect from him from a production standpoint? And is this ultimately him just winding up as the DH sooner rather than later? Not that that's not already the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Part of the reason why I'm of two minds on this is that I think the Blue Jays, as we've sort of discussed before, were in a very, very difficult spot here where they don't really have a lot going for them outside of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But even with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they're not a particularly good team, and probably the fifth best team in their own division. So when you had this contract situation, like, you're forced to make a decision between, should we let this homegrown superstar, maybe the best player in franchise history, walk and just enter into basically a decade of wandering the wilderness, right? Or do we pay $500 million for a guy who is it's going to be very difficult for him objectively to achieve $500 million in value throughout the duration of this contract, in my opinion, given the way that he's likely to age and the type of player that he is currently. Like my ultimate fear, candidly, is that this ends up some sort of combination of the Albert Pujols and Mike Trout contracts, where the performance, or Miguel Cabrera, where the performance in the back half of the contract is Pujols or Cabrera-like in terms of decline and being saddled with a highly paid, highly compensated player who's not producing what he should. And the Mike Trout element, where I think we could conceivably see the entirety or the vast majority of Vladimir Guerrero's prime, if not the whole of this contract, pass without him having a real imprint on the postseason, a la what Mike Trout did throughout his prime. So I think that's where my concern lies. That's a down the road concern. But I also think that's part of why $500 million for Vlad doesn't necessarily make an enormous amount of sense for this team, because the prime years are not going to be spent on highly competitive teams either.
And that is where I think Blue Jays fans, I don't want to say are maybe better served to put their head in the sand, but is it too soon to have that conversation, Jay? Is it
Well,
can't we not let them enjoy their poutine and be happy that they got Vlad cakes for the next decade and a half? Can't we let them be happy?
I think they can absolutely be happy. And there's a part of me that certainly thinks that it's more valuable to overpay the lone attraction, so to speak, on your team to secure him in a Jays uniform or whatever it might be, even if you are overpaying, than it is to let him walk and to be an identity-free, star-free franchise. Like, I understand that argument as well. It's not all like cold, calculated numbers, but I do think that the reality of the back half of this contract is that it is very likely to be really ugly than it is to be something that we're, just don't pay attention to or something like that. And, people's opinions on these sorts of deals tend to change when confronted with that reality over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years over the course of the second half of the contract.
Well, and something else to consider is, and not like it's nothing that people aren't thinking about, but if you are going to now start to build around Vladimir Guerrero Jr., what does that construction start to look like? What does that blueprint start to look like now? Because according to Spot Track, if you go into the 2026 campaign, you've got just under $50 million worth of tax base. About $48,395,000 is what the numbers say. And then you start to look at the roster, and the second highest paid position player on this team will be a 36-year-old aging George Springer at $25 million. From there, you'd have to go down to Andres Jimenez, who at 27 years old, just $15 million. But the idea, and obviously with Santander, the deal that he signed, and he at 31 years old, where do they start? Where do they start? Because they've got guys like, Gausman and Barrios on the pitching side of things. Gausman, 35 years old, rounding third. Where do they start?
So I think my broad answer to your question is that I think with some of these contracts eventually coming off the books, not necessarily after this season, but in the near term, right? Within Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s prime, the Springers, the Gausmans, like I do think the hope with that front office and fan base has to be, we have Vlad under contract now. Are we a more appealing free agent destination now that you know that as a player? And I don't know what the answer to that is going to be, and that can't be the entirety of the picture, right? No team subsists entirely off of free agency. But I do think when you look at what this team has and what it doesn't have, the idea that they're going to continue to try and do what they've done in previous off seasons, which is go big game hunting for some of these high level star free agents to pair with Vlad. I know. And then the follow-up point is that, okay, who is that? And that's a very fair question outside of, the lone guy that would qualify who's a pending free agent anytime soon appears to be Kyle Tucker, this coming free agency. But A, big game hunting in trades and free agency, and B, cliche, but they need their minor league system to produce major leaguers. And
well, even if they're not producing the big leaguers, they need to be producing viable options, viable resources, a commodity that would allow them to spend in the market and hopefully try to pursue somebody to help reinforce that. Because that was my thought is, outside of the pending free agents, are they now going to, and why wouldn't they allocate the total sum of money that they had cast off to the side and ready to give Ohtani? You got to believe that there's a gap between that number and what Vlad received. So if that is true, what is that number? And we could probably allocate that in a way where we're fairly competitive.
Well, and they do have to, I know you did it in broad strokes earlier, but they do have what would seem to be quite a bit of payroll flexibility moving forward. I mean, Bassett's deal comes off the books after this season. That's $20 whatever million a year. The aforementioned Gausman and Springer both come off the books after 26. That's another, almost $50 million between the two of them. So you're looking at a considerable amount. I mean, the Scherzer's $15 whatever million deal was a 1-year contract. So outside of really Jimenez, Berrios, Santander, and Vlad Jr., you have quite a bit of roster flexibility here, and that puts an onus on the front office, obviously, to make that work. But I am, the roster isn't any different, and I'm ultimately not optimistic about the Blue Jays' future. But having Vlad Jr. in place, I do think in the 5, 6, 7 year window where Vlad can reasonably be expected to be, an MVP-ish type player, like, having him in place really does matter. And I think it gives them a pathway moving forward that they just didn't have, a level of clarity that they just didn't have. And that alone, I think, is kind of exciting if you're a Blue Jays fan.
Well, it's got to be exciting. It has to be exciting. And I think that this front office is in a position, and whether or not you want to believe that a front office can be excited about having the flexibility that we're outlining, whether you believe they can be excited about the challenge that is presented by having one of the game's superstars and a competitive window of, let's say, at least 5 years, and the opportunity to go out and supplement this. I think there's got to be a level of excitement if you're a part of this front office that says, this is kind of what we've been waiting for. I don't want to call it a compromise of sorts because you didn't get the big free agent fish that you were ultimately after. But if your plan B, if your contingency is the in-house Vlad Guerrero Jr. that you're locking up for the next 14 years, I think ultimately when the dust settles as a front office, you're happy with that. You're okay with that. I mean, you signed the check, so you got to be. Sure. But now the work begins because you got your guy, right? You got your magnet. If that is the bug zapper, if that is the light that you've just hung up now, and you want to have a good time, you want to enjoy the setting out here, well, you're going to need to start attracting those bugs, those mosquitoes, and that's what Vlad is, right? He's going to be that light bulb that attracts all these other supporters. And I hope that the Toronto Blue Jays are prepared for that challenge, because you only have to go back to the last offseason and the one before and the one before to realize how difficult of a challenge it has been to bring guys in there. So you have Vlad in-house. He's the one outside. He's the wacky flailing arm inflatable 2-man on the corner telling you to come get your oil changed and a haircut and a fucking $3.99 buffet all at the same time. He's attracting everybody.
Good imagery. Last thing I'll say is I just think the Blue Jays, this fork in the road moment could be one of the great decision tree moments in recent Major League Baseball history, where they had the opportunity to trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for a bushel of prospects, young players, assets, and move forward in that direction, or they had the opportunity to pay him $500 million over 14 years and keep him as a member of the Blue Jays. They obviously chose this one. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I just think like that kind of thought game to me will always be fascinating as to where that would have gone. But anyway, he's under contract, third largest deal in Major League Baseball history.
That's it. And we are very, very excited that the Blue Jays have their man, Vladdy Jr. If you haven't been listening, well, now you know. That is 14 years, 500 million undeferred dollars, undeferred loonies, undeferred toonies, however you want to chalk it up. Vlad Cakes is taking it all up front, cashing in, and hopefully the Blue Jays and Jays fans will be able to cash in on this window because it is a big one and it is a big day in Canada. Oh, Canada. We don't have time to sing the anthem. Otherwise I would. Jayhay, everybody's talking about him. Everybody's been talking about them. They're the toast of the division. They're the best team in baseball, according to win percentage. Of course, we're talking about the team out west. That's right. The team with all the glitz and glamour surrounding them. We're talking about the San Francisco Giants. Is that who we're talking about? That's not the Dodgers. Jay, that's the San Francisco Giants. What is going on?
You sure it's not the Padres either? We were just talking about them too. They were the toast of the town the last time we podcast.
It very well could be the San Diego Padres. The NL West is fucking hot. Is hot right now. And the San Francisco Giants at the top of that division as of right now. Of course, it's early, small sample size, all of those things. But they're doing it in exciting fashion. A walk-off win over the Seattle Mariners this Sunday to cap off what has been a great weekend, a series sweep for the San Francisco Giants, who, as we said, set atop of that division, according to win percentage right now, just 8-1 on the season. Yes, the Dodgers have 9 wins under their belt. They played one more game, 2 more games actually. And to your point, Jay, the Padres also sitting at 8-2. I'm not sure if you watched any of that series, Jay, or saw the game. But I mean, look, you read what the Giants are doing, and they're getting some much needed power from some much needed places. Mike Yastrzemski, how about Wilmer Flores stepping up late in the ball game for the fighting Bo Mells? It was
he's got a flair for the dramatic, that Wilmer.
He sure does. Why don't you cry about it, Jayhay? What do we got on the Giants and an actual are they a threat? Can this be a threat to the Padres and their hopes of knocking on the door of any potential wild card? We've had that conversation, but can they be a threat to the Los Angeles Dodgers, the 120 win Los Angeles Dodgers?
No. I'm answering your last question first, so we'll put that aside. They cannot. No. 8-1. So obviously a lot to celebrate there. Best start for them since 2003. I saw Lang's tweet out that, obviously the Dodgers have a second loss now, but at the time, both teams had started 8-1 or better through 9 games. That was the first time since the late 60s that had happened, since 69. First time that 2 teams had ever done that since they moved to the division format, obviously in 69. So that's exciting. Wilmer Flores, 14th walk-off hit, tied with Bryce Harper for the most since Wilmer Flores has been getting walk-off hits since 2014. So yeah, a lot to be excited about. I mean, of all the things that you identified, though, the one that I had written down before we started was Lee. Like, that's a guy who, Jung-Ho Lee, who, like,
grandson of the win.
Yeah. Like, we basically loved his nickname at the start of last season and then spent no time talking about him because he spent very little time playing.
He got hurt,
and got hurt and was ineffective when he did play. But, we're not that far removed from him being signed to a contract north of $100 million. Like, this isn't some bit, or it wasn't intended as some sort of bit player to come over here and just kind of be a fourth outfielder or something like that. He was signed to be an impact level guy. And obviously season 1 was a wash and season 2 were 8 games and 35 plate appearances in, but he already has 9 extra base hits. He had 14 all of last season. So we're tracking pretty well there. And in general, like, to me, like, as nice as the Wilmer Flores stuff is and the Mike Yastrzemski stuff is, I think at the end of the day, we more or less know who those players are, and they're fine players. They're players you want on your team. But I don't really know, and I don't think we know who Lee is yet. And
Well,
he's
guys
a guy
like Lee,
who could be a difference maker in a lineup that I think ultimately is going to need offensive level difference makers to compete at the top of the division or wild card.
Grandson of the Wind is a guy who can make this lineup look exponentially longer. You plug him in and he does what he's capable of doing. He does what you anticipated him doing. He's a guy, to your point, not a bit player. Maybe you don't have him circled right squarely in the middle of your lineup, and that's fine, but that's the point, is we have identified those guys, right? That's what Matt Chapman's for. That's what Willy Adames is for. So, I mean, even throw Yaz in there. But you need a guy like Lee to extend that lineup. You need a guy like Lee to be on base, to create things, to create opportunities for the guys that, as you said, Jay, we have identified, right? A guy like Elio Ramos is also a guy that can do that for the San Francisco Giants. Yeah. So I think, is this lineup as competitive, and is this roster as competitive or as deep as the Dodgers? No. And I think we understand that. But if you are a sum of your total parts, and right now to the tune of the Giants record, what do you say, they're 8-2? This is exactly where you'd like to be to start the season. We're talking about a franchise record, right? Franchise best start?
Yes.
So
since 03. Since
03, sorry.
Yeah. It's 22 years, man. That's a long time.
You're in a pretty good spot. You're in a pretty good spot. So I know it's early, but I think all signs right now positive, and especially if Logan Webb, who will be on the bump, continues to pitch well, Well,
and I think it's, to go back to kind of the initial question when we talked about the Giants before we moved on, is like, what is their viability for this season? I don't think anybody looked at the Giants entering this year and said, this is a terrible team, or this is even a bad team. I think everybody looked at them and said, this is either the third or fourth best team in the NL West, which is an incredibly competitive division. And that may still be the case, but what's more important is that their wild card competitors in the other divisions look like they might be, like, there might be an opportunity there for the Giants to take advantage of that. They're a beneficiary of a Braves 1-8 start, in a big way. They're a beneficiary of the fact that every team other than the Cubs looks like they might have very serious, perhaps ultimately fatal flaws in the NL Central. I'm not writing off the Brewers fans. I'm just saying, like, they may.
The Central, Jay, just real quick. The Cubs have a plus 21 run differential, I believe. I don't think that there's anybody, if they're, I think two teams have a +1 run differential and everybody else in the hole. So to your point, the Cubs, they're just that much better than everybody else in this division right now.
And outside of the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Braves, asterisks on that last one. Like, if the Giants were better than any of those teams at the end of the 2025 season, any team in the NL, would it be that surprising? I don't really think that it would.
Not at all.
And their postseason equities, according to Fangraphs, has gone from 29% to 52% since the start of the season. So again, they might not be making any headway in the division because of the way that the Dodgers are playing, and that the projections view the Dodgers roster probably correctly, but they are making headway on making the playoffs in as much as you can do that through 9 games.
Yeah. I think it'll be an exciting race all summer long. I think the rosters between the Padres, the Dodgers, the Giants, and I know a lot of folks are saying, hey, don't forget about the T-backs. And
no, not at all.
What they're doing. This is the team who scored more runs than anybody last year, and they've got a great pitching staff as well. So there's no reason to think that they won't be trying to make a little noise as we turn the corner from summer headed into fall. But it will be a great race. It's already starting to shape up as one of the better, if not maybe potentially the best division back and forth that we could see, if we do see that back and forth. Well, we're talking division ball. We're talking the NL West. We're talking things are heating up. The MLB season is heating up. It's been here, and it's here for you to wrap your arms all the way around. Underdog Fantasy wants to make it a lot more interesting. However, Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. You already know that. And playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower. That's it. higher or lower on player stats, strikeouts, total bases, home runs, and a whole lot more. You can make entries of all baseball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. We know you like to watch other things. No reason you can't compile them together and cash out. You can win up 100 times your money. That's right. You can win up to 100 times your money. It's a ton of fun. You understand that this is how we go about our business. We're picking picks. We're looking at things. We're looking at the slate. We're putting it all together. We're playing the same game you are. So make sure you sign up with code Jared. That's Jared to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits and a special pick on Underdog. That's right. Special pick on Underdog Fantasy. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Jared. Jayhay.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, what's up?
How your Cardinals doing? Jayhay? How's the boys Cardinals doing after an absolute drubbing? A drubbing at the hands of the Sox. Everything all right? Everything all right there in Bushtown?
The hometown Cards, after we were, on the ground with the people of St. Louis, it's hard to see a team get beat down like that. But, as we just said, they're in the they're in the NL Central, so they'll live to fight another day. To me, it was more a comment on the Red Sox side, and it's unfortunate that we don't have Jared here, but we do have Jake here. Jake, did you have any reaction to last night's game and or the home opening series in general?
No, it's just tough to do that to the good folks over in St. Louis. Had a great time out there for opening day, for opening week. Really good people, great town for a ball club, and hate to see them go down like that. But Sox lineup looking pretty good. Very excited for the rest of the season.
That lineup is looking devastating. Obviously, it's easy to say that coming off of an 18-run game, but it is following something of like at least in the sense of last night's game. Duran obviously had a big game. Devers looks like he's figured things out, which is
turning a corner.
But the Bregman mashing at Fenway and in general with the Red Sox feels like it was the most predictable storyline possible from months prior to even signing. We can quote the Fenway stats, but that seems to be coming into play full-fledged at this point.
Yeah, and I think, and just from an outsider perspective, right, having a guy like Wilyer do what he's done, Bregman, obviously, to your point, Jayhay, with everything that we had discussed leading up to this, performing the way you'd expect him to perform at home, just overall. Obviously, the arrival and what will be the emergence of Christian Campbell, that's a big deal. We don't need to belabor the Red Sox in their future here. I think boys over at Section 10 do a fairly good job of that. But what we're seeing just from the baseball world, from the outside perspective, I think you're starting to see a team, and there was a lot of questions about the struggles of Devers early on. I get it, but look, for me, trolling. I would love to see him continue to climb out of this funk and swing the bat the way that he's more than capable of doing so, because the Red Sox being good in that division are exciting. Just because I want a team to continue to shit on the Yankees if that's possible, that would be great.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I'm after.
Yo, shout out to Jeremy on the new Yankees lose video, which I got around to checking out this morning for the first time. The wicked ending, and I'm not going to ruin it for people who haven't seen it yet, although I'm sure every single fan who wants to see it has seen it. But it absolutely beautiful work. Jake, you're shaking your head you just can't believe how beautiful it is.
I've watched it probably 50 times. He had a new Gold Bottles video. New Yankees lose video. The guy's just a cinematic director.
Germ is cooking.
The Bregman numbers, just as an aside now, are up to 387, 496, 774 all time at Fenway. So
that's at home. Yeah.
Yeah. At Fenway Park.
Right.
1.270 OPS in 113 plate appearances for any player with at least 100 career plate appearances at Fenway Park. That is, I believe, the second highest OPS behind only Frank Robinson. So he's still got time, obviously. Yeah. And the Christian Campbell thing, it's like, we did the contract talk on Thursday, but just from a kind of a stats nerd, small sample size alert standpoint, he's hitting 529 off of fastballs so far this season, which is kind of fun. Unsustainable, but you always like to see batting averages north of 500.
Sure. It's exciting. I mean, guys on base via knock over half the time, right? I mean, just simple math tells you that. And it's exciting to watch. It is very exciting to watch. What are we excited about the Phillies smacking the Dodgers around a little bit? I mean, we just talked about the Giants and them being in a position to make noise in this division. You need some help from your friends from outside the division. The Phillies, the city of brotherly love, more than happy to lend a helping hand, smacking the Dodgers around. That's got to feel good for the Phils. It's got to feel good for the Giants. But I think for the Phillies, who, Jayhay, if I'm correct, you and I both have pegged to take that division. Is that
That's
correct?
right. That's right.
This has got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, part of the challenge of early season podcasting, at least for me, is not making too much of, 3-game series or very small sample sizes. But I think just from like a competitive balance perception standpoint, I think it's nice that the Phillies were able to take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers and kind of just like quickly remind anyone who had forgotten that baseball is very fickle over small sample sizes. And we all consider the Phillies, as you just alluded to, we all consider them to be both division, and I picked them to win the World Series. So World Series contenders, and 2 of them, they were 2 1-run games and a 2-run game. So very much the definition of could have gone either way. But yeah, I mean, the competitive side of me was happy to see that the Phillies were able to take 2 of 3. And nothing else.
And it was unfortunate to see a friend of the program and heartthrob of our very own Rocket, Tyler Glasnow, the elements, kind of got to him a bit. Weather, not his friend, started raining, a little drizzle out there. And the Phillies players even came out and said, like, we felt like we could sort of pick up on him getting a little irritated, him being bothered, maybe a little flustered by what was going on out there. So we just decided to play the game. We just decided to try to be as patient as we possibly could. And from there, we let the chips fall where they may. How about Nick Castellanos?
Well,
how about Nick Castellanos, Jayhay? Another flair for the dramatic, as you say.
I was just going to say, I didn't want to repeat myself, but yeah.
No. But he's a guy who's, like when he's putting the barrel on the baseball, Jayhay, heads are going to roll. That's just kind of how that's gone for Nick Castellanos. And it was, who was it? Vesia, right?
Yeah.
It was Vesia that got taken advantage of. I thought I saw the 89 mile an hour fastball. That couldn't have been right from Vesia.
That's a you problem, man. That's your boy. You got to clean that up. You took ownership of him during the postseason. So if he's got problems, don't try and put it on me.
Oh, yeah. Castellanos just absolutely clobbered that pitch up and out, and he hooked it, and it was, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can I do another bullpen note really fast too that I think
please do,
that has like potentially real ramifications on the Phillies side is
Romano?
I was going to say he was signed to be the nominal closer of this team. I know they have other options and that he's already sort of just out of that position given his struggles. That's not the position he pitched on Sunday's game. But it was another bad outing. His ERA is over 15. Obviously, we're talking about 4 innings. But yeah, you noted it. I was going to note it. His fastball velocity is down almost 2 miles an hour. Obviously there's some level of inability to, find the zone when needed when you're throwing, or registering a walk rate north of 18%. So,
and what hurts, and what directly correlates with that, Jayhay, is the fear. And it's not that he's scared. It's the fear of not knowing what you're going to get when you reach back and try to step on one. And that's exactly what he was talking about is, brother, it's 93, 94 right now. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm trying to throw at 98. I promise you, but it's not coming out at 98. And the one thing that he said that caught my attention And I hope everything is okay, because according to him and according to everything that he's dealing with and preparing himself within the training room, everything's fine. There's no, I'm not barking here, I'm not tight here. And I think that's, I don't want to call it a bigger cause for concern from an outsider's perspective, but I can tell you, as the athlete who has been in that very position, questioning what you feel, questioning why you don't feel what you think you're supposed to feel, that can be unnerving. And that starts to chip away at how you compete, because you just don't have the same stuff, right? If we're in a sword fight and we're both allowed to have 10-inch swords, well, then I've got a pretty good idea of how I can gauge my attack plan.
Yeah.
But if my sword is now just 6 inches, well, that's, it ain't 10 inches and the game plan changes. So that's kind of where I think it's where the Phillies are at right now, is can they shore up the back end of that and figure that out? Because there's no reason that they don't, one, find an in-house answer, but two, should that become a problem that they have to address, again, with what they have in their rotation in this lineup, there's just no reason that the Phillies stand idly by and don't get a resolution to this sooner than later, because you can't afford to let this issue manifest.
Yeah, and obviously their big trade deadline acquisition last year was, Estevez for the back end of that bullpen to try and rectify that. Didn't end up mattering all that much. They have other guys who are, obviously Estevez is no longer with the team, but they still have other guys who are either former closers, in a guy like Alvarado, who I believe closed out the game last night. I personally think that Orion Kerkering is maybe the when it's all said and done, perhaps their most interesting reliever or the answer for the closer spot. But it does feel like a situation where if Romano's just not an answer for really any role, that the Phillies are going to be right back out there searching for relief asset help at some point leading up to the trade deadline again this season.
Yeah.
Which is whatever. That's a good problem. If you're going to have a problem, let's have that one, right? But
no doubt.
7-2, 5-1 at home so far. So that's pretty good stuff on their end.
I would say so.
Can I note a quick thing on the Rangers real fast?
Please do.
I know you're intimately familiar with the ins and outs of the AL West, so I won't insult you, but for the listeners, Rangers 8-2, a game and a half up on the Angels. That's right. And the Rangers are winners of 5 straight. Would you believe that the Rangers are the first team in Major League Baseball history to win 8 of their first 10 games while being outscored?
Wow. That is tough to do.
Yes. The whole division's been outscored, if you didn't notice.
I'm well aware that nobody in our division has a positive run differential, Jay. We're the only division in baseball where nobody has a positive run differential.
Yes. I was going to say you're like the bizarro NL West, but of course the Rockies continue to persist.
Yes.
Which ruins that comparison. But so I don't necessarily have a lot else to say on the Rangers other than the offense has, I don't think the offense or the pitching has been all that notable, really. They just happen to have 8 wins in 10 games while being outscored 33-34.
Yeah, it's a solid offense, and when they swing the bat and they come together the way that we think they can, there's a lot to like there. I mean,
but it's not like the offense has been particularly notable so far, right?
No, not at all, not at all. And the one thing I will say is, look, you get a CG shut piece out of Evaldi to start the season.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Pretty sexy, fairly sexy. Yeah. It's good baseball. It's quality baseball. And if you're into quality baseball, you need to go and check out the Game Time app.
Yes.
Why? Because this is how you enjoy these ball games. This is how you get to these events that you've been clamoring for. When you see good baseball on the TV and you want to be around good baseball, go to the Game Time app. That's what you got to do. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier than ever before. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down, believe it or not, the closer it gets to first pitch. So, killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your office or your seat, if you will, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And Jay, as somebody who during the season, I don't have to worry about buying tickets. I've got tickets locked up. I got a fairly
privileged
decent
life.
Yep. I am very, very privileged. But the off season provides me opportunities to go out and do things and get tickets to things that I want to go and see. And Game Time is the number one app, the number one provider for me.
Well, no question. And we just recently got some hands-on experience with the Game Time app over in St. Louis, I believe. Jared mentioned before when we went to the Cardinals game, because we didn't make it over there until the 4th inning. So Game Time was the perfect app for us to use. We used it. We dominated. Game Time dominated for us, and we crushed some Busch Stadium.
Well, remember, priority last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. It doesn't matter. Game Time has got you covered. You can make last minute ticket buying easier than ever. Quickly highlight the best deals in the stadium. You can pick your spot. They make it as easy as possible. You can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. So, hey, I want to sit roughly right here. Boom. Game Time picks the seats. You even get a little more help from them. All-in pricing. You toggle the feature for all-in pricing, and that gets the total. That shows you the total right up front. No surprise fees at the very end. So you have a great idea of what you're getting out of there with. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. Again, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's more than 100%, folks. Do the math. Game Time ticket coverage, they have got you covered. You can purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So you need to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem your code. That's BID for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee.
DB, I got a question for you.
Talk to me, Goose.
It's not every day we get BID eyes on one of the top pitching prospects in the sport, and the Rockies' top pitching prospect, Rockies' top prospect overall, Chase Dollander. What let's talk a little Rockies ball here. What were your takeaways?
Solid arm they got up there in the Rockies, my friend. Solid arm.
Obviously the debut was what it was. 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 homers, 6 Ks. So not asking you to make more of it than it is, but
no,
you're a pitcher, man.
Yeah. And watching him, I was just going to say he was unafraid to attack. He was unafraid to attack with the secondary stuff as well. And I could see him really start to shape up some of the secondary stuff, but it was 97 out of the gate, 99. I mean, it's a fucking live arm, man. It is a live arm. He showed a good feel for 4 pitches. Didn't see the changeup a ton, but saw it enough where you could see how he will start to and continue to develop that pitch at this level, and how that will only create more separation for him. So I think with what I saw at a Chase Dollander, I was very excited. I was very impressed. What I will say about watching the Rockies in person is Tovar. Big fan of Tovar.
Well, like got him under contract for a long time too.
Like the way he plays the game. Just an incredible athlete. Remember, the youngest NL Gold Glove shortstop in NL history. They don't have a ton else maybe to be excited about just after further evaluation. But watching the debut of Dollander, and this is what we all kind of said, like, this could go very good or this could go very bad. And I think, look, you punch out 6 over 5, you get out of there having given up 4 against the A's team who's swinging the bat well, and in Colorado, nothing to sneeze at. I feel like it's a good job well done. Could have been better.
Are you concerned by the Blake Snell news? Shoulder inflammation. IL.
Yes and no. Why the yes part? Well, because anytime you start talking about the shoulder, I become hypersensitive to that. Yeah, because you just never know with shit like that. You just never know. Because you don't want to think that he's been babying it to an extent where maybe something else crops up. Like you hate that to be a thought. But this is where you start to go back and you say, well, wasn't the Dodgers' depth something that we were touting? And isn't this why we were touting it? Is because should they lose a Blake Snell type, they have guys that they can sort of plug in and lean on there. So while I am concerned for the individual, am I concerned necessarily for the group? Not a ton, but does it help having a perennial Cy Young contender and Cy Young winner in Blake Snell in your? Yes, it absolutely helps. But is it the end of the Dodgers season? No, it is not.
It's not. Nope. That's my assessment too, just to be clear. Also not the end of their season. Can I tell you a little bit about a little something else?
I'm all ears. What do you want to talk about?
I want to tell you, close your eyes. Imagine what you'll look like 6 months from now. How's your hair look?
Fuck, great.
Does it look the same?
Ish.
Now picture your hair if you started using Hims. You're picturing the same as before, but with much thicker and fuller hair. You'd be correct. I mean, you can spend 3 to 6 months doing a lot of pretty silly stuff that doesn't net really anything beneficial to you, right? Like I'm thinking of, so one time, before we were going on a family trip, we were all going to make a drive to my brother's wedding in Geneva, Illinois. Put together, I put together a list of my 30 favorite songs of all time. And then on the drive, I played all of those songs for all of my family in the car. And I have to tell you, the level of time and investment that I put into it versus the reward for everyone else was kind of fell flat. It kind of fell flat, but that's not the sort of return on investment that you would get for Hims. Hims provides you with convenient access to a range of hair loss treatments that work all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil.
Nailed it. Both of those.
I tried to say it like Jared.
Yep.
Finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from personalized chewable, oral, spray, and serum treatments to find what's best for you. The process is simple and 100% online, so there's no uncomfortable doctor visits. Answer a few questions and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to you for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything for treatments to ongoing care. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, and they can help you get your confidence back too with visibly thicker and fuller hair.
Oh.
Start your free online visit today at hims.com/BID. That's HIMS.com/BID for your personalized hair loss treatments. HIMS.com/BID.
Get it in you. Get it on. Yeah. The hair journey for your boy has been
it's been a lot for all of us, I think.
Yeah. It's been we'll call it a circuitous route. That's what we call it.
Yeah. I think that's,
Is that fair? What the fuck, dude?
No, I fully support you, but it has been circuitous to say the least. Yeah.
You could say less about my hair. That'd be great. Before we get to the Nuggs, Jayhay, I got to shout out the Lesty. I got to shout out the Lesty. Give it a Lesty. Fucking raise it, Jayhay. Raise it. The lefty, Andrew Heaney. Slice it and dice it. Punch it tickets, bruh. Punch it fucking tickets. That's right. The veteran lefty, the crafty Lesty, Andrew Heaney, raised the Jolly Roger on that ass. 10 punch outs for the left-hander. And what I love about what I love about just kind of diving into the outing for him was, look, 7 innings, 10 punch-outs, 1 earned run. But this is something that you'll learn at some point in time in your career, and you find it out about yourself sooner or later, and hopefully you can evolve and survive on the other side of it. And that is when you lose your shit, when you don't have the stuff that you had before, when you wake up and you have to walk out and pitch with Dallas Braden shit, you're not excited about that. You're probably thinking about doing something different in this life. But you know what? Someone's still paying you. So you might as well go out and get fucking outs. And that's exactly what the Heaney dog's doing. Going out and getting outs, 10 punch outs. But Jay, again, the anatomy of the outing. First time since 2020, he's had 5 strikeouts on his curveball. All right. It's 2025. It's been 5 years.
Oh, you went deep on the Heaney dog, huh?
It's been 5 years since he's punched out 5 people with the curveball. All right. That's just to start there. Uh-huh. And the fact that it's not like he was just flipping burgers in there one after the other, unconsciously. No, he was shaping this shit up too. So like the velocity ranges anywhere from, I think 81, 82 I saw, all the way down to 69. Very nice job of mixing it up. That's exactly what you got to do if you're a veteran out there trying to survive. He threw 7 sinkers. 7 sinkers. You might go, cool, fantastic. Well, he threw 10 last year. Last year, in a season where he produced the second most innings of his entire career, he threw 10 sinkers. He threw 7 in his outing alone against the New York Yankees, and against a team who has gotten a lot of traction, and their arsenal of torpedo bats that they've been taking folks to the shed with. The Heaney dog took a bite out of the pinstripes with a lot of veteran guile and a big old left-handed nutsack that he drug right across their face. And he was not the last one to get the big blow in. Nay, what's good, fam? Tommy Pham taking advantage of the airbender of all folks at the back end of that ball game. Walk off, knock, raise it. Heaney dog and what's good, fam?
Were you at the series?
Oh man, it was
I feel like you were at these games.
Well, we have a guy who works for the A's. Shout out Commander Cody, who is from the area. His family's from the area. So him and I, we'll just start yelling at each other, or he'll come in frustrated and pissed off about something, and he'll just open the door and say something did you fucking see it? Did you? And I if I haven't seen it or whatever, I know that I just instantly need to go to the Pirates site, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. And so him and I, we have found community with one another when it comes to the Buccos. So yeah, we're up on game, Jay. It was just good to see an old dog getting after it. That's all.
I got a Heaney dog nug for you.
Oh, give it to me
to cap it off. Here, so he had 10 strikeouts, obviously, and the only the 1 walk. The only pitchers older than him to have a 10 strikeout, 1 or 0 walk game against the Yankees.
Listening.
Okay.
Listening.
1913 Eddie Plank.
Let's go.
Okay. 1936 Lefty Grove.
Decent lefty.
Yeah. 1998 Jamie Moyer. And since it's best to include the postseason in a stat like this, 2001 World Series Game 2 Randy Johnson. Those are the only ones. Yeah. So, pretty random, but Heaney dog dialing it up against the Yankees.
Yeah, and the nug is that those are all lefties. Is that the nug?
Yeah, the only lefties older. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's so sexual. Do it, Heaney. Fuck yeah. I love that. Also, I got a couple what I will call DB nugs. They would absolutely be filed under final thoughts. But one of the DB nugs before I get to the very important one. I got to shout out my boys from the 209, the Stockton Ports, who together combined for a no-hitter. And the reason that excites me is because as our listeners know, as you guys know, I've had the opportunity to work very closely with the pitchers in our minor league system over the last 5 years or so. So it's a labor of love for me to be able to go out and spend time with these guys and just watch their development and just be around if they have questions to ask. I help out a lot, I think more so on the video and preparation side of things. I get into the bullpen and obviously we've got a great tip of the spear as far as our minor league development is concerned from the pitching side with Mike McFerrin, who came out of the Wake Forest lab. And we've got a whole host of veteran experience just dripping with knowledge and institutional knowledge. And to watch old Goddard, get him Goddard, Jim Gott, who's helping out down. It was good to see these boys and all the hard work that they put in finally surface after what was a long spring training. So shout out Jefferson Jean, 5 innings, 5 punch outs. Shout out Zuchin Shah, 3 innings, 6 punch outs. And my man Wilfred Alvarado, he got the inning of work in to seal the deal. So shout out to the 209. It's in the water out there, Jayhay. We just don't let motherfuckers hit baseballs. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, something's in the water. Now, good to move forward with Nuggs then?
Yes, please.
Are you hungry?
Nug me. Feed me, Seymour.
I bet you haven't had a real breakfast yet, have you?
Have not. It's early here.
I know. Backing up a few days, but I think it's worth it to do so. Pitchers age 25 or younger in MLB with starts of 8 or more innings pitched, 2 or fewer hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, and 10 or more strikeouts by season. 22, Spencer Strider. 23, Spencer Strider. 24, no one did that. 25, Spencer Schwellenbach. So,
Spencer's.
Yeah, you got to be a Spencer on the Atlanta Braves to get in on that particular stat. Kyle Tucker is the first Cubs player with at least 5 homers and 5 doubles through his first 12 games of the season since
slugging it.
Moises Alou, forgotten great player, not forgotten by Cubs fans, obviously, but not mentioned enough, I feel like.
No. I'm going to go piss on my hands now.
In fact, I'm just going to, I'm going to interrupt my own nugget and just pull up Moises Alou's page for a second.
Alou Nuggs?
Yeah, just to remind us that from...
Great giant.
Yeah, we're going to go...
He's a great giant, great expo.
Right there to right there. I mean, he's a career 303 hitter. Let's just start there. Batting average isn't everything, but that's kind of cool. From over an 8-season span from 94 to 01 while playing with 3 separate teams, which was, of course, part of the problem with I think him being properly appreciated was that he played for so many teams for being such a great or very good player. 312, 381, 538. That's a 920 OPS over an 8-season span. Moises Alou. Also deceptive because it wasn't massive home run totals, right? Like his career peaked at 30. He did have 39 in 2004, but had only 3 seasons of 30 or more. Never had more than 17 stolen bases. Had 2 top 3 MVP finishes, actually. So
why did I never, well, see, like I really latched on to Moises. And I mean, I was playing pro ball.
Yeah. I mean, you were in the league when Moises was in the league. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. But he was, and this is just like, I don't know, like the tail end of his time in Montreal. And then that's when I was like, oh, okay. Is this somebody? Cause he had if I remember correctly, wasn't it was it the strike season or just before the strike season where it was one of his best years in Montreal?
Yeah. 94 was maybe on pace to be the best season of his career. He hit 339, 397, 592. It's a 989 OPS in 94. Obviously 5 wins above replacement, 107 games played.
Okay.
Finished 3rd in the MVP that year.
And then he off my radar for whatever reason. And then he was back on my radar, obviously with the Cubs and the Bartman shit. But then when he became a Giant, who obviously the other team in the Bay Area that I followed along with my Oakland A's, it was, I thoroughly enjoyed And with him, because I'm the romantic that I am when it comes to the game, right? His family and their place in the game. It was just cool to have him kind of in my backyard, so to speak, to go and watch him play after him very vividly catching my attention as a young kid. I was like fucking 12.
Well, it's fair that you fell off the scent a little after 94 because he came back in 95 and 96 and was not quite the same player just straight up was not the same player as he was in 94. But that in 97, when he made his way to the Marlins, he kind of reestablished himself. And that 97 to 01 run, where it was 97 with the Marlins and then 98, 2000, and 2001. Remember, he missed the entire 99 season. That run, the latter three with the Astros, was probably the best sustained run of Moises' career.
You're looking at his page right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, never mind. I was going to ask you what his WAR was. I was going to war game you.
He's right over. He would have been a Baines meter, just got over the line sort of guy. He hit 39.9 actually. Yep, and it all would have come in his age 40 season, his second to last year, really his last season of any meaning, because he only played 15 games and 54 plate appearances in his age 41 in 2008 with the Mets. Anyway, that was Talking Moises.
Yes,
new segment on Mondays. Alex Bregman is the first Red Sox third baseman ever with a 5+ RBI game at home within the team's first 10 games of the season. Somebody responded to me asking, of what value does adding first 10 games of the season? And I said, it makes it more specific and funnier and cooler. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand what game I'm playing by doing that, then I don't know what to tell you, but we're just having fun here. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, you're not the chef, pal. All right. It's his recipe.
Yeah. I'm trying to get as specific and get the craziest nugs possible. Sometimes they mean something, like when I'm doing research for a player. Sometimes they don't, like that one.
Sometimes the nugs come out nuked. Sometimes the nugs are deeply fried. Sometimes the nugs are freshly baked. All right. It all matters right now. Jayhay just trying to slug a nug right now.
Doing a tribute to our former podcast co-host.
Don't blow a fucking rib out. All right.
No, I muted it.
Don't need you blowing an intercostal.
Bregman joined Carlton Fisk in 1973 and Xander Bogaerts in 2018 as the only players in Red Sox history to produce a 6+ RBI game at home within the team's first 10 games of the season. So once he got that 6th RBI, it kind of ratcheted up a notch to fuck with that one dude. Cardinals starting Miles Michaelis. Yeah. I have some bad news, DB.
No, come on.
It might be glue factory time for Miles.
No. Why, Jayhay?
Yes, I know. I have to be the one to say it, though, because you'll never say it. You'll give these guys more rope than they deserve. Miles Michaelis might be toasty. Cardinals starting pitchers to allow 9 or more runs in a start of fewer than 3 innings pitched while managing to not allow a home run. So credit to that.
All right.
Michaelis last night, Carlos Martinez in 21, Bob Gibson in 1969, and a classic old-timey name, Bill Pop in 1902.
So Willie Pop.
Yeah. Oh, old Willie Pop and Miles Michaelis. Rafael Devers. Somebody, speaking of random people on Twitter, I was asked to apologize for my Rafael Devers slander now that he's hitting again. I won't do that because that's not how this works. Okay. If a guy starts off 0 for the world with 1,000 strikeouts and it's historically significant, I'm going to comment on it. And when he stops doing that and starts being a regular player again, you don't get apologies for that. Okay.
Yeah.
You get nugs if he deserves it. Rafael Devers is the first Red Sox player in franchise history with a 4-run, 3 RBI game against the Cardinals. So if you like specificity, I got that for you up the wazoo last night on Sunday Night Baseball. Red Sox players with 4 or more hits, 4 or more runs, 3 or more RBI in a game against an NL opponent, regular season or postseason. Devers last night, Mookie Betts in 16 and 17, and Dustin Pedroia in 2010. The Cardinals, they've had a weird, you said, how are my hometown Cardinals doing? The Cardinals have, I don't know if you saw, they set the NL record for most consecutive games with 10 hits.
Yeah, did see that.
They have 9 such games. Did
9.
you also notice that they have a losing record
in
just in the games? So they have 10 or more hits in every game this season, and they're 4-5. That's
well,
tough.
it's not for a lack of seeing the baseball, Jayhay.
No, the offense is doing its part, including Arenado, but
you've just blamed the
pitching staff
entire
is not.
season on Miles Michaelis. You have taken him.
I blamed
out
last night.
back
I am
and-
blaming last night on Miles Michaelis. Yeah. Yeah. If you're a starting pitcher and you give up 9 runs and 2 1/3 or whatever, that is your fault. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. The
I
whiff
mean, it
rate
is.
down and
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, for Michaelis too, right now, like the whiff rate as far as baseball savant is concerned, not ideal. Not ideal.
Yeah.
He's in the 1%.
Well, and I have even worse news for you is that he was like in the exact same place last season. So there's no decline happening here. This just is what it is. And then my Nug du jour,
Ooh.
14 or more hits, 3 or more homers, 12 or more RBI, 10 or more runs, and 8 or more walks through the first 10 games of a season by left-handed batters in AL history. The full list: Ty Cobb in 1925, both Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth in 1932, and Wilyer Abreu in 2025.
Wow. Will you believe that? Abreu.
Yep. Right alongside the people that he's meant to be alongside: Ruth, Gehrig, and Cobb.
Oh, he's going to look so good in pinstripes. That's what they're saying.
Who is saying that?
Oh, no, there's nobody saying that. Oh, I mean, that's where, the Yankee, it's where one former Red Sox great ended up, and the other fellas, well, Gehrig's
Or Tigers, I
Yankee.
guess. Ty Cobb was with the Tigers.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying with Gehrig and Ruth.
Are you reporting Jackson Jobe for Wilyer Abreu? Is that what you're doing right now?
Oh, no, I don't think, I think the Tigers are off that. I think,
Tigers? Did you just hear the names that I listed?
Yeah.
The
Lou
Red
Gehrig.
Sox might be off it.
But yeah, it's, well, no, I mean, he's
People
the
are
soup du jour.
In my mentions, people are calling him Willie Bombs.
Oh, Willie Bombs. Oh, Willie Bangarang. Well, those are some extremely tasty nugs.
Thanks,
I
bud.
do got to shout out the Athletics who have not only set but extended a franchise record for homering in each day to start the series. It's now at 10 games. They just continue to bang. Shout out Jacob Wilson also, who had not punched out Jayhay in 51 straight plate appearances.
Yes.
And unfortunately punched out for the first time in his big league career. Yesterday, he punched out twice.
It's pretty cool.
But has
I mean,
has
not
still,
that he punched out. Yeah.
No. Yeah, but has also, he is like watching him is so much fun because he is the answer to my question of what would today's game look like if you have somebody that is going to put the ball in play as consistently as he is. Like, what does that season look like? How does that unfold? Well, he's hitting over 360 right now, I think. It's very, very fun to watch. It's very exciting to watch. And what that looks like at the end of the year, I don't know. Are we talking AL Rookie of the Year? I think we're talking AL Rookie of the Year discussion. No question about that. No question about that.
No question about that.
No question that he is in the conversation. No question.
Yeah, I'm just playing around. Yeah, I mean, to your point, he's got 2 strikeouts and still 0 walks. So in terms of putting that ball in play all the time,
that's going to
I believe he was the last qualified player to have 0 of either one of those.
Yes.
And yeah, to your point, I think there are 6 per Fangraphs. There are 6 qualified batters left who have not taken a walk yet. Wilson, Jackson Churio. That's a little interesting. Still, obviously, that's interesting though.
Well, there's a lot more swing and miss in there.
There is so far. 33 running a 33% strikeout rate. Kerry Carpenter, Alejandro Kirk, Victor Robles, get better soon, and Christian Walker. Those are the people who have not walked yet. Luis Arraez is the only qualified batter who has not struck out yet.
Yeah. Shout out Jay Willie. And I got to grab something real quick here.
Oh, okay. You have a gift for me. This is kind of embarrassing. Or maybe he just needed a cough. I'm not sure.
As I said, I posted about this, but I just wanted to make sure to take the time and give some proper love and attention, because Jayhay, I know how much you appreciate the support that we have from fans, from our listeners all over the place. And once again, I was not only pleasantly surprised but extremely humbled by a wonderful gesture. Shout out to Anna Marie and Sharon. We love you, ladies. I know you're watching. But in Colorado, Jayhay, a couple fans swung by and they had cookies for me. And I get a lot of cool stuff from fans, which is I don't deserve it, but it's fucking awesome, and I love it. I appreciate every bit of it. But these aren't just any cookies. These are handmade cookies.
That's awesome.
Hand-drawn cookies. And it was just really cool to for the folks listening, what I'm doing right now
is
showing. I know, and that's why I have not eaten these.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to figure out a way to preserve them, like spray some shit on them that keeps them, like, like I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Yeah, awesome.
And they had some other baseballs and A's baseballs and shit. But yeah, just a very cool surprise that they had for me. I was very taken aback. But yeah, the game of baseball just gives us all so many wonderful opportunities to meet people, to go different places. And I think sometimes I'm very guilty of not really truly understanding or appreciating the impact that we have and all the support that we have. So it's nice to be reminded of that. And those two ladies who I hold very near and dear to my heart, I couldn't be more thankful for. So it was great to see you girls. Thanks for keeping it fresh. Thanks for loving the game the way you do. And that goes for all of our fans. But I just wanted to shout them out before we get out of here. So Jake, you got any Jay, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope. I'm good.
Jake, final thoughts?
Well, I just found out that Willie Abreu is basically Babe Ruth, so that's an unbelievable start to my Monday, and I'm just going to try to ride that high for the rest of the week.
Enjoy that. Willie bombs, Willie bangarang, Willie blasting shit.
Get better soon, Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket. Yeah, for the folks obviously who have noticed.
Do we not mention that?
Yeah, I didn't mention it at all. That's on
bad
you,
hosting.
Yeah,
that's bad hosting.
Yeah,
Jared's out this podcast.
And you know what? Hand up. That's on me, right? Not taking care of my co-hosts. So that's on me. Jared, my co-host, is sick, but Jayhay, my other co-host, was more than happy to step in and fill the void. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We will be back on Wednesday. Wow.